Welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, August 6th, 2025, and today we are going to be taking a look at the state of California and a proposed congressional map by the Democratic Party in this state to counteract the 5 GOP additional seats in the state of Texas as Texas looks to confirm their gerrymander after we see that the Texas Democrats have denied quorum in this state, which we expect to last throughout the remainder of the special session, to which we expect Governor Greg Abbott to call yet again another session until this map is ultimately passed. California is already moving forward with a response to the Republicans in this state, looking in effort to counteract, again, what they are seeing on the GOP side. 5 seats here from the California delegation targeting specific incumbents, hoping that the map goes from right now having 9 Republican representatives all the way down to 4 across the map here, giving Democrats 47 seats in a state with 52 members of Congress in Washington, D.C. Now, the California Republican Party right now is already spread thin across the state. California has a map that favors the Democratic Party, but Democrats arguably have been getting quite lucky in terms of their wins in battleground districts. For instance, if Republicans had just outperformed the last election by about 5 points, they would go all the way up to about 15 seats across the state. Another 5 points and you put them at 16, and then an additional 5 puts them at 20. And so this map here is a bit conducive to some degree to a Republican Party massive overperformance, but still you can see why it's heavily in favor of the Democratic Party. But this proposal here, similar to that in Texas, would make this map even more in favor of the Democratic Party, again, to make it sure that on the national stage, the overall change in congressional seats is just 0. Now, California's move to make 5 additional seats here in counteracting the Republican Party comes at the expense of 5 Republican incumbents that the Democrats on the House side are looking to target at the immediate. Ken Calvert, Darrell Issa, Kevin Kiley, David Valadao, and Doug LaMalfa are all on the chopping block here in this proposed map. And if you want to take a look at their districts in specific, right now you're taking a look, if we actually head over to California, at some districts that already might be leading to Republicans losing in the 26 midterms. But this would all but ensure that Democrats are guaranteed to win in these districts. Over here, Kevin Kiley won by about 10 points in the 3rd district in the last cycle. Under a standard type of Democratic wave year, California's 3rd would likely be very competitive and might be the favorite for the Democratic Party under better circumstances. But it wasn't in 2024, and Democrats lost that seat. But the hope here for Democrats would be that under a new map, Kevin Kiley would not be in a red district, and instead, this district would be turned into a Democratic Party safety seat. The next one they're looking at is Doug LaMalfa, who comes in at a district who won by 30 points in the last election, and they're looking to make California's first, yet again, another safe Democratic seat. Something similar to that of the neighboring 2nd district, which voted for the Democratic Party, 72 to 28. The other incumbents they're looking at come down to David Valadao in the 22nd district. They're hoping a district that they already expect Democrats to come close within victory in 2026. Ensure the Democrats have victory there. And you can also see it down here, down in the southern part of California, in the 41st district, another district that Democrats have been unlucky with. Ken Calvert has been defeating Democrats here in this district for a little bit of time now. They're hoping that after the redraw, Ken Calvert is on his way out too. And then neighboring 48th District, Darrell Issa, who had been in a different congressional seat before, moved over to a more safe and secure district after he lost in 2018, now winning his re-election in 2024 by about 18 percentage points. Democrats also want to get rid of that district. And so what it would do, in essence, is make Republican incumbents face off against each other, similar to like we saw in the 2024 election, which was in California's 20th district, where 2 Republicans made it to the final round and faced off against each other. The idea here is compacting in Republican incumbents or putting them in districts that are so unwilling to elect them that they have to switch and move, or, in a better case for the Democratic Party, they are forced to retire. And again, this is the plan here, the retaliatory plan that Gavin Newsom has been talking about for quite some time. This proposal here, according to those who have seen this map, to axe the 5 Republican seats that I mentioned, giving Democrats, again, a net equal standing with the Republicans after their map passes in the state of Texas. 5 seats for 5 seats in the states, the 2 states that are the largest in the country, with the most amount of congressional districts to draw. It looks like Gavin Newsom really is fighting fire with fire and willing to do so in his state. Now, California has a bit of a trickier operation. They have about 5 days to actually figure out how they're going to do this special election. They come back at the middle of August before they have to pass to have an election in November. So they're going to have 5 days to make this happen. It looks like Newsom and his Democratic team are going to be focused on ensuring that they're working round the clock to make sure it gets through these 5 days. But we've already started to see that Newsom and the Democratic Party are talking with these congressional reps. That's why maps like this are already leaking. Why? Because they already need a map. They need 5 days. They have 5 days to propose the map, take public comment from the California public, and then actually pass a piece of legislation to make this a ballot referendum set to take place November of this year. That would take place, and if passed, would be implemented by the 2026 cycle. It's a truncated timeline, and one that, again, was very much done in reaction to the state of Texas, done to push back against what we are seeing in the state of Texas. As you can see, California giving Democrats the 5 seats there would make it so. If Republicans gained 5 in Texas, California, again, they're going back and forth. And we're starting to see this emerge elsewhere. We see that J.D. Vance is now visiting Indiana, going to Missouri to say, I want you to redraw the maps. The example in Missouri is right now Democrats have 2 seats here. Republicans want 7, not 6, meaning they'd likely take this 1st district or this 5th district, crack it, and make it impossible for Democrats to win it there. In Indiana, we see that this 1st district here leans a little bit more towards the Democrats. Strong incumbent there, Frank Mervan, who won in 2024. Republicans really want him out. They'd likely crack that district and leave Democrats just with Indianapolis, with Andre Carson in that district. So Republicans are looking that, let's say Democrats do California. They will then get on the overall net positive through Missouri and Indiana. But Democrats across the country, including Governor J.B. Pritzker, is saying, I might call a special session in this state. Take a 14 map, make it 15 or 16. The Maryland Democrats see a map proposed right now that says if Texas's map implements, that they would vote on a piece of legislation that would take this map from 7-1 and make it 8-0. And so you're going to see that there's a tit-for-tat war here. Florida is intervening, saying, we're going to take away 5 seats from the Democrats or 3 seats from the Democrats. I mean, it is an all-out frenzy across the board in terms of reaction in redistricting to Democrats and Republicans, and we are seeing it really brew up in Texas, California, and I'm sure many other states. The state of Texas, is the first, won't be the last. New York is also saying that they might go ahead and draw their maps anew ahead of 2028 because state law won't let them do it ahead of 2026. I mean, so many different scenarios and so many different circumstances here and across the country that are fundamentally changing the way that our maps are drawn, fundamentally changing the way the 2026 midterms would look like had Donald Trump not started this and asked Texas to redraw their map. We have to be in full understanding that this only began because Donald Trump wanted it to in Texas. That is the only reason why California is drawing this way, the only reason why Maryland and Missouri and Florida and Indiana are opening up the idea of a redraw. And it's something that really is fascinating, to say the least, because what it is doing, in essence, is making it so our maps are less competitive. There's more partisanship and polarization across this country, and it's showing that Republicans are willing to do something and Democrats are willing to fight back for the first time in a very long time. A lot of Democratic states, California included, have implemented what they call IRCs, independent redistricting commissions, committees, whatever C word they want to use to represent the independent redistricting X. California has them and many other states do, but not a single state that Donald Trump won in the last election. And that is the big difference. It is Democratic states that have these IRCs, and they often work to the detriment of the Democratic Party. They end up with maps that arguably are more fair. States like Virginia have them. Clear-cut lines, no boundaries that favor one party over the other. But this is a state that routinely votes for Democrats, and, not to mention, after the 2020 census, had a Democratic trifecta. They had the governorship, they had the House of Delegates, they had the state Senate. There was reason to believe that the map could have been drawn better. But Virginia doesn't draw maps that way, and this map favors the Republican Party to some degree, especially since it's, again, a state that Democrats could have drawn in a way more favorably. But of course, it didn't happen. Virginia now sends 5 Republicans to the United States Congress. Democrats have just 6. In 2022, same thing, but if Republicans had had a slight overperformance, they would have won potentially upwards of 6 or 7 seats, the majority across the state. And that's what's the difference here. In 2018, Democrats became 7-4. In 2016, though, it was Republicans that were 7-4. The map not changed in terms of congressional boundaries, but in terms of partisan composition, happened practically overnight in the 2018 midterm elections. But the fact is, the map in 2020 looked a lot better for Democrats than it did in 2024. There's not much really to account for that besides the fact the maps here were drawn in favor of no political party. It's a pretty even split in a state that traditionally votes blue. The point is that across the board here, we're looking that the Democratic Party has not really gerrymandered to the degree that Republicans have, and sometimes that works against them. But in this new California map, it looks like they're going to go exactly what the Texas Republicans are, and not anything more and not anything less. In axing those 5 Republicans, they've eliminated the need for Democrats to invest in many of these competitive races, and I don't doubt that many of the races that Democrats would otherwise be funneling tens of millions of dollars in and hundreds of millions of dollars in across the state might be shored up to be secure and solid for the Democratic Party, ultimately allowing resources to be spent elsewhere, time and money to be spent elsewhere, rather than swing districts that the California state legislature the state IRC drew after 2020, allowing Democrats to use that more effectively, just practically across the board here. And it will be a test. It will be a test for Gavin Newsom in the 2028 presidential election, because he stands to be one of the few Democrats who are standing up to Donald Trump to the degree on this issue of redistricting. And so we'll see how this plays out. If it works well for Newsom, it'll give him a springboard into the 2028 election. If it doesn't, it'll look bad. As someone who's been this vocal, this adamant, this clear about his intentions, we will see. But not everything circulates around 2028. A lot of this has to do, very obviously, with 2026. And should Democrats pass this map in California, it'll render this Texas map ultimately useless. And on the overall net, I'd argue benefits Democrats more, because Democrats are on defense and play offense in a lot more districts in California than they do in Texas. And if Democrats are losing 5 seats in Texas, but never really were competitive in any of the Republican ones, you can see that on the overall net here, although the seats may seemingly stay the same, the time of money that is being spent in California is nothing, will be nothing compared to what a map would look like afterwards and the amount of money spent in 2026 if Democrats shore up all of their seats. So keep your eyes peeled. Let's wait for a California map. It seems very interesting that they're looking to do exactly what the Republicans are, but it looks like this is an immediate reaction to Donald Trump and the Texas Republicans, and the chances that it passes were still up in the air, but we'll see as the public in California weighs in, and as these House Democrats here in California, the lawmakers, have about 5 days to figure it out. And figure it out, I do think they will. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video for you to watch, and then a playlist for my 2026 House election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.